Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Wish you could slide into my mind and make me mine. Push play rewind. Let's whip outside, and so am I.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dylan B. Dickerson White, your Mr. Trans USA 2022. I'm here with our Mr. Trans Nevada, Trigga Infiniti Sanchez. And to give you a little bit of a background from we got from his application, he said he's been performing for about 5 years. He's been pretty heavily involved in organizing and working with the Black Lives Matter movement. I am pretty sure that even in his 5 years performing, he's had more titles than I have in my 15 years, which kind of gonna get into that a little bit. And I really enjoy Trigger. He's somebody I've known for a few years now, and is really one of those guys that's been breaking barriers in pageantry a lot. We're going to get a chance to know a little bit more about him and have him introduce himself and maybe tell us a few things that I didn't mention here. Hi, Trigger.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good.
So I know I gave like a couple little teasers there, but is there something like I didn't mention that you'd like to kind of tell everybody to introduce yourself?
Well, pretty much summed it all up. No, but I also am Capital C Pride King for the second time in a row. From winning on stage question and answer, which is pretty cool, and it's mainly because of my involvement in wanting to bring the PLC community more into the gay community, since there's not a whole lot of things for us to do, essentially, that they feel like focus mainly on us. So that's pretty much my biggest area that I work with.
Right, because you're still in Iowa, even though you're representing Nevada and different promoters, prelim like sort of or pageants in that respect. So I can imagine
Correct.
like Iowa is a very salty area, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
definitely.
So I can kind of like see how that's really important out there because you and Joel to me I think are pretty much a, a huge representation of the community out there that I don't see a lot of other folks even just getting the attention that you guys do.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
there's a few others that are starting to step more into like wanting to do more and get more out there and get their involvement more, and so that's also a huge it's a huge thing to me because they tell me like I look up to you and I'm like, wait, you look up to me, and I wouldn't expect that. So that's another thing that helps keeps me going and pushes me to go forward.
no, I think you should kind of expect that because I did hint at this. So when I say you were breaking barriers in pageantry, it's not just like one system. So most recently, you were at Mr. Gay America competing.
Yes.
And that's a huge like connection there with Nevada. So in that respect, like in a non MI pageant, like how is competing different for you in that respect?
For me, I would say it's more so of a mind thing because in my head, it's like I can't do the things that they can, but in all actuality, what are they really doing that I can't do? So that's more of a mind thing. Or, for instance, like my facial hair, like, oh, they look more masculine than me when all I have to do is just get out of my head and just be me, be who I am. Like, when you look in the mirror, it's not the same person you used to see in the mirror. Like, you just have to remember
Yeah,
these things.
that's totally like one of the things you hit, like because sometimes you don't realize and you'll be stuck thinking of the old you, and even in like that you think that people see that because you remember that. So I think that that would be a huge thing for me too. I was kind of scared about competing without putting drag makeup on either. Like, um, so I think that one of the things we can talk about is you said in your bio working a lot with like the youth, the Black trans youth in your area. So what have you been kind of working on? Like, is it part of your Pride title, or do you have any separate projects that you've been kind of working?
Um, as part of my prior title, I actually don't have any requirements. It's just more so of me wanting to get out there and get more involved in different communities through my pride title to also help get them involved with our community. So that's how that works. But it's just more so of a me thing because there's not really too many things for them to do. Like as far as I'm not real big on talking, but honestly, like there's a lot of people that come to me to talk to me, and I'm also able to help them just through tell them experiences of how I got through situation or how I overcome different things. So it's more I talk to a lot of youth, help them get to where they're going. I've helped a few of them being able to come out to their parents and tell them how they really feel and express that without being disrespectful or feeling like they're not being heard. So
No, I think that's kind of a huge thing. Like being that person that somebody can go to is a huge part of like why people run for Mr. Trans USA. You know, and I'm gonna say like I wasn't expecting all that, like a lot of that side either, but it can get a little overwhelming. So I mean, you know, you do a lot of work in the community, and you're obviously all over the place performing and up and at 'em and all over the country. So outside of that, like, what do you do to like relax? You know, like what do you do to calm down?
um, play with my kids, have fun with my kids, cook, watch TV,
Yeah,
like
just
things like that. Like honestly, a lot of my music that I do, my kids make because they're TikTok fans. Like I watch the TikToks every now and then, but I never remember that stuff. My kids is always doing it. They're like, look, do this, dad, do this, dad. So there's a couple of times I literally would learn the song, learn the dance just for my 6-year-old because she's TikTok
that's
star in her head.
really cool to get them involved in that way too. And like, honestly, I'm needing some help. I started a TikTok during COVID, and then it just I have not touched it since. So
I have like 2 videos of mine.
yeah, it's just not once you get like past like 30, so like you're just at least on my end. I don't know how old everyone else is, but no,
I'm not gonna
actually, I
worry
do.
about that.
I saw everybody's things. I know exactly how old they are, but no one. I don't tell. I think for me, it's really I'm really excited to have you involved because I've seen you compete so many times, and I've seen just how you have grown in yourself and how you're at this point. You don't try to be anybody else anymore, which is wonderful. And I think that so that said, this is a different kind of pageant. And I know we talked, but other than like me harassing you, um, what kind of made you interested in this title?
Because it's something that's actually closer to home, being that I am trans. It's not one of those things where I'm in competition to look the best or be the best or who can dance the best or things like that. It's something that's actually related to home, something that I do on a daily basis. Like I work with the community, I do community services, I work with nonprofit organizations on a daily basis, and so this is specifically for trans. So it's something that I'm already involved in. So why not
Yeah,
just try
and
it out?
you definitely hit it on the head. Like it's not about how who can spend the most on a talent, and things like that. And I think that having that like I know you like we love our talents and we love coming up with stuff. But it's that challenge of okay, what if I don't do like what if I have to do something different? And I think that having you been part of that and being able to be like that voice uh, in the communities is going to be really cool. So with that, you did put you're participating in the outstanding advocate thing. So when I try to explain to people that may not know, is that Trans USA this year has decided to do an advocate award in each division, and it's not necessarily about how much money you can raise for the organization, although that can be a part of it. But contestants have the option to select a charity to represent during their reign as a state title holder, and you know based on who kind of does the most with that organization and really helps shed the most light on their cause, and we feel will be the recipient. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you selected and why?
Um, Selectively as the Morning Scholarship Foundation because it's my drag grandma and she passed and she worked with the trans community. She was she worked as a trans counselor to youth and also helped talk to their parents on how to cope with the situation and deal with this so that they're not bashing their kids or making them feel some type of way because it's hard for them to get through that they are transitioning and not the person that they was when they was born. And that was real big with me, and she worked with me doing that a lot. And so, if I'm going to continue to do something, I might as well continue to build that foundation so that we can continue to help youth and parents get through that. So that is the reason why.
I really actually I admire that a lot, and I think that's a part that people forget a lot. It's like the family aspect of it. Like, I mean, we all say it is about us when we transit, but our families, and how they deal with it, and the fact that there are people like out there now, are wanting to support their kids in transition. That's a huge thing too. So, being that you've been kind of working with that, like, what advice would you have to parents if they've just found out that their child's coming out as trans?
To not feel like they failed themselves as a parent, to try to understand who their child actually is, and that would help them be able to get through the transition and make things easier on them if they actually understand who their child actually is, rather than what society says a trans person is.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure we're seeing a lot of that, all over. And with the bills coming out and all the craziness, like things attacking the community, and I don't want to be like too on the heavy questions, but I feel like this is a really important question for me to ask. So if you don't mind, I'd like to try to do this in a respectful way. Like I know that I'm not obviously I'm going to know every issue or every side of everything, and for me as somebody who is a very very white person, like, is there something that people like me should know? What it's like that? What is it like being? I should rephrase this. What's different about being Black and trans? What should I
Being
know?
Black and trans is extremely hard. It's extreme. First of all, being Black and gay is one thing. So being trans is extremely other, because for most of us, if we didn't grow up in church, our parents did or some part of us did, and we went to it. And so that is another huge thing, because we've always taught you're not supposed to be gay, you're not supposed to do this. So with us being gay is one, but being trans, it's like we have the hardest time with people getting them to understand and respect who we are, because it's just they were so focused on who they knew or what you shouldn't be doing. So it's like, oh, we're not going to respect that. You're always this person, and this is who you're going to be, because we don't do that. In their head, it's we don't do that. But in actuality, you don't do that. That's not what you're for. So don't try to make it as a group thing, and that's what they do. That's what makes it so hard.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you for it, because again, I'm not going to know everything. I want to make sure that people kind of get that message from somebody who really is in that experience. No worries. So now that we've kind of we got a few serious things out of the way, yes. So I'm gonna do something. I always ask these silly little questions in here too. So one of my favorite ones is we're talking about pet peeves with a lot of people, and my thing is it can't be a really super serious one. It has to be one of those ones that people would look at you kind of funny, like, why do you care about that? The example I always give is either the sound of clipping toenails, because I can't stand that and I have to leave the room. I will literally want to claw my eyes out. So I was wondering what that was for you.
Mine's actually probably smacking.
Oh, the lip thing?
Yeah.
I can't even do it.
That is the worst.
Oh my God. So that must make it hard at drag shows, because there was a few years, remember, the queens were doing it nonstop.
Oh, I hate it. I'm like, oh, why are y'all doing this? Why?
Stop.
No need for it.
Totally. I think that otherwise it was ripping paper. I didn't used to be bothered by that, but as soon as somebody told me it bothered them, suddenly it was a thing for me. I don't know. I have a lot of issues, clearly. So let's see. This is kind of another kind of cool one we've been talking about. And I know that I've gotten a lot of similar answers. So I have dogs. I know a lot of people have pets of various kinds, dogs, cats, birds. But if you could have an exotic pet of any kind, what do you think that would be? No space restrictions. Tiger.
Yeah, I'm a tiger. Tiger or a monkey, but a tiger for sure.
I think as long as they're not in the same place, you can have both.
You never know. They might be friends.
They could be. The monkey can ride.
There was all kind of animals that were friends.
Right. Everybody gets along here.
Right.
You see those videos of like the baby tigers playing with like puppies or something? Yeah, like
See, I want that. I want
yeah.
that. Like, why not?
No, I am all for that. I want to see you ride in on a tiger. Just
Right.
you know,
Like it's normal.
yeah, just
Like it's a
like
horse or something.
let me park the tiger. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Do you guys have tiger parking?
I'm all for this. We'll make sure the venue has. um, all right. So I think that kind of like circling back around to pageanty things. Like we did talk about how this was a little different. So is there anything about this particular pageant like that makes you nervous? I was like, there one category that like you're really nervous about over any others?
Um, Not anymore. Like you had asked me this a couple of years ago, I probably would have told you on stage question and answer. But I've actually gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'm like, I'm here for it. Like, I'm here
You
for
know,
it.
like the things that kind of scared you the most before are now a big deal. Like,
Right.
and that's
Interview still makes me nervous because I mean, this interview is just like people looking at me. Whoa. But I mean, that's just that. It's not like nervous how I used to be. I used to be nervous because I was getting asked questions. Now it's just because you guys are looking at me. So,
you know, I feel like people always tell you that like picture people in their underwear thing, and I'm like, that's not a good idea for now.
at all.
That does not work. like
It'll
I
probably be the worst thing to do at some
like
time.
like I mean, I feel like sometimes depending that on the person, that is a very bad thing. like so like, oh, I don't want to be thinking about that.
Right.
I can edit that out. It's fine. um, I probably won't.
You can leave it.
So we're gonna move right into another question. I think that one of the things that we kind of talk about is some of the misconceptions that people have about the trans community. Sometimes we've talked about, people think that maybe we're all looking for the same goals in transition or something, and that's one of them. So I was wondering, what do you think another major thing that people get wrong about the trans community or trans people in general like is?
That's a good question. They're basically pretty much trying to say that we're all the same, and we're not at all.
No, like
Just
you
because we went through our transition at the same time, so we was dealing with the same process. That still doesn't make us the same. Like nobody transitions for the same reasons or have the same feelings, the same journeys, like even the same goals at the outcome. So like they literally just you're one trans is another meeting one trans is like meeting the other, and that's not the case at all.
right. Yeah, and I think that that's like a huge. We just talked about it, like and depending on your background, like you're gonna have a completely different experience than somebody else, and I think that kind of hits another question. Like it's not on here, but we talk about as trans guys, we have our own experience, and like I think just some of the friends we have, we know that the girls go through a completely sometimes different experience. So, how would you, if you were Mr. Trans USA, how would you kind of like go about bridging that gap and reaching that other side?
Just making sure we're also aware of their feelings and what they're going through. Like, okay, yeah, you know how you handle situations, you know what you do with for certain things, and how you wouldn't want your brothers treated. So you need to be the same way when it comes to women, because we're all together. Like we're all we got, so we have to stick together. So as long as there's awareness for both sides, then that helps bridge the gap. That helps bring us together.
Yeah, I absolutely just kind of like making it known, too, like I'm here for you. Like, yeah.
Right.
And I think that even coming at the event, we're going to see a bunch of that interconnection and getting there. So that's be really cool. So on that kind of note, we talk about, Mr. Trans. So what is that? If I say Mr. Trans USA, like, what does that title like really mean? Like, how would you make that your own?
Like it's like building a bigger platform to do what I've already been doing, but also branching out and making sure everything else is aware. Like, not saying that that can't be done now, but it's like that's everybody's paying attention to me. Everybody's watching, so what I have to say, everybody's gonna want to hear it. And it's like it's not like I'm feeding them crap. Like, this is what needs. These are the issues that we're having, and this is
Yeah.
how we're going to fix it. And these are the ways it can be done from everybody's point of view.
And like you're right,
It's awesome.
you're already doing that. And I think you're right. Like you're already doing the work you need to and making everything that you've done like your own. And I know that this is one of those things that like I know that like I can see that success like makes me happy to see like you reaching for it. So again, let's flip around. Like I feel like I always get into heavy conversations, you know, and then I'm like, no, it's not supposed to be so heavy. So this is little fun fact. So let's do like your vacation spot. What's your favorite vacation spot?
Um,
You could say your couch too. I mean it's like
honestly, I'm hardly there.
oh
So, um, that's a good question. I'd probably say New Orleans, honestly, mainly because of the food. Like, I love to eat, so when I go on vacations, I have to go places to eat that they don't have at home. So I love seafood. They have
you know
it.
I am kind of with you. I've become more and more of a foodie. So we did that in Vegas when we were out there. We tried all the different places to eat. I felt like I gained like 15 pounds on that trip.
But say,
Right. I mean, it was quite incredible. So I think that I actually have to ask you because we're both going to be doing this. You have a big thing coming up this summer, don't you?
yes, I
Traveling around.
do.
We can't say
Yes,
too much yet, but Trigger's going to be gracing some stages around the country uh, this
pretty
this summer.
excited.
Yeah, kicking off that Pride tour. Yeah, and so we're going to be doing some stuff together. I hope everybody's going to pay attention to that.
Stay tuned.
But on that note, we're going to talk about because you are a performer, and you know we can't. While it's not part of the title specifically, I know you're still going to be out there doing that and representing in that way. So, like, what are some of your favorite artists to perform?
Real one, of course. Definitely real
I led right into that. but but no, like I mean, you've obviously got a huge repertoire. So beyond Little Wayne, like what else do you like to do?
one. I like that. I like doing John Legend. I've been doing a little bit of that lately. Um, Trey songs, do a little Chris Brown, so kind of just a little bit everywhere.
A little bit, depending on the crowd, kind of thing, you know. Because
Well, I think because like ballads, I tried to doing some ballads, and it's just like, yeah, everybody's watching me, and I'm just going so slow. I don't know what to do with myself. It's getting awkward. So
yeah,
I'm like,
you're
yeah,
like, what
let's
do I do
go.
with my hands now?
Right. Instead, they're like, yeah.
It's
Think happy thoughts.
definitely ballads are a lot harder than people think. Like to really pull that off.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for me.
Yeah, like oh, let me just dance. You know, it's fine.
Right. Well, I can't really dance, so I try. I try.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can definitely. When you put the choreography together, I've seen you do it.
I try my best.
I mean, half of my numbers are like faking that I don't know how to dance just because I'm playing into the whole like white boy stereotype. So I think every now and then I'll throw one out there that are like, oh wait, I actually know what I'm doing. But then you know I can always fall back on that. That
Right, like you expect me? Hello, of course I can't
yeah,
dance.
like yeah, you know I just rather than say I messed up.
Right.
So I think outside of that, like I know that there are issues that you're kind of focused on, and you wrote about safe schools as being one of them. So yeah, we're jumping back around. So I think that wanted you to kind of like speak more on that. Like, how do you think we need to improve school safety for trans folks specifically?
Mainly, again, that comes along with awareness. Like you talk about everything else in class. You talk about everything else in history or in home ed or sex ed, whatever they call it nowadays. But you talk about everything else in it. Why not speak on that? Like not saying it needs it's you got to show how they have intercourse and all that. Like that's no that's no far, but it's like awareness basically like how they let people know they're still humans. They're still people. Like treat them regular. You don't have to treat them different. And the reason I say that maybe you have awareness not to specify us out as being particular people, but look at all the bullying and everything that's going on in school. So when kids go to that counselor, the counselor just staring at them and don't know what to say or what to do. So they just throw it on, push it under the rug, and then it becomes a bigger issue and they kill themselves or something else happens. So
Yeah.
why not have
Just making sure those people they go to are knowledgeable enough too. Like, yeah, the kids can have someone to go to. Like,
right.
And I think that kind of hits on something like because people our age, it wasn't talked about ever. You had no resources, you had nothing, and you had those feelings for years. Like you're like think there's something wrong with you, and like
But
it's
when
crazy.
if they would have talked about it more, they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm not the weird. I'm not different. Like this is actually me.
Yeah, like
stuck in the wrong body.
right? And just like, oh, there's an easy way for me to just be okay and be who I am. And I kind of love that kids there's that huge opportunity for them, and kids are having the chance to just be themselves, at a younger age, whereas I was in college before I even thought about anything. So I think that's another kind of like one of the more serious topics is like bridging the gap between generations is pretty tough, so I was wondering, how would you try to find common ground with a trans like teenager?
That's just more so in, we're like, oh, how did you get your facial hair? How did you get this? That's the easiest way to find a common ground. Just tell them things that they have to look forward to and how happy you could actually be, fulfilling what you really want to do. Like being happy with yourself is actually happy. Like you want this. Like look at the things you have to go through to get to it. Like,
oh. No, it's okay. Gotcha. That's why we edit them, so we can like kind of. But no
so
worries.
I mean, those are the ways to find common ground. Just showing the things that they have to look forward to, and the jokes that they can have with themselves when their voice is cracked and going through puberty, or they have a patchy beard. Like you get to deal with these things too. Just like you're laughing at me, you're gonna find it funny with yourself.
Like actually, that was a question for me because sometimes I have trouble like trying to relate to people. So that is going to be helpful for me because you're absolutely right. Like just the little parts that they're focused on, because you did kind of like really hit on that. Like in the beginning, you're so focused on like those physical things, like and I was so excited about every little change, I remember. And now on the other side of it, we're like, oh, this is just who I am now. Nothing's really changing much anymore. But yeah, that's a great way to like start a conversation with the kids, definitely. So like I think I've been asking a lot of people this question, and I think you already kind of touched on this in some of your other projects you've been working on. Like, but when I say the phrase trans excellence, and we see that popping up all over, from our formers and everything, what does that really mean to you?
This means like you paved the way for some younger trans to move up in life, to learn new things, to grow within themselves. Like you, not saying that you're God or anything, but you paved the way. You went through steps, you went through challenges, you talked about them so that other people can know what to do when they get to that point in their life, and it's helped them make it through what they're going through.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like you're that role model, like you're the one that people look up to, and I think that you've already been that person. I can tell you that. And you started out the interview like talking about that, so I think that this is going to be a whole like new platform for you to be able to just tell everybody that message and like be that calm presence, because that's something I noticed about you too. Like you have a very calming like energy, and I think that's going to be really fun when we all get together too, because I know that I'm going to be a mess. I'm going to be nervous, even though I'm not going to be. So that's kind of like
just gonna want everybody to have a good time. So that's the good.
Yeah, and I think that's what we all end up talking about. Everyone talks about like the pool parties and like the fun stuff that we have planned, and so I think that's a really good thing to like end on because we're hitting the half-hour mark here. It's a great question. I always sort of throw at the end. So we talk about a lot of the projects that people are involved in. You know, you're talking about working in getting to be schools to be safer spaces for trans kids. You're talking about working with, you know, Black trans youth and the Black Lives Matter movement. You do a lot of work in the community already, in addition to performing in Pride title. You know, so I wanted to say like we talk about what we want to do for titles, but what do you think like is the one thing you want to take out of this experience for yourself personally, like when you go to nationals?
Learning other ways to do things, like learning other ways to reach new levels and touch new markets and new spaces in the community. Like just learning new ways to do that and also being able to do what I'm doing now everywhere, more so than just in the Black community.
I'm liking that answer. I'm just really enjoyed chatting with you tonight. And I think that, you know, we'll get to have more fun conversations on our trip. I think when we go to that our little event later this summer, we need to like do a little session as well with all the other boys that'll be there.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, but I'm actually really excited that you're joining us in general, and I really think that everyone's gonna fall in love with you when they see this. And I think at that note, we can go ahead and play your little statement video after we exit here. But I just wanted to ask you if you had any last little things you wanted to shout out to people, or if you wanted to just call it a night.
Thank you guys for listening. No, but
No.
thank you guys for taking the time out to listen and find out a little bit more about who I am, because all I can do is be me and want to be able to help everybody that I can.
Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Good evening. My name is Trigga Infiniti Sanchez. I'm your Mr. Trans Nevada, USA. One of the main reasons that I chose to compete in the Trans USA family is because what they stand for, what they brand and their foundation is, as far as making trans visibility more aware, is something I deeply care about. My main brand is Black Trans Lives Matter. Yes, all lives matter, don't get me wrong, but being that I am POC, that is my main focus. But with competing for this, it just gives me an opportunity to make that even a bigger branch, letting it get out there to the world that all lives matter, no matter what race you are, no matter what color you are, no matter if you're male, female, or a youth, all trans lives do matter. All lives matter, period, but more so focused on trans lives matters because there's not enough awareness about us. People look at us as if we're strange creatures and we're human just like you're human. We wake up every day just like you wake up, and some things might be a little different for us, but we are human just like you're human. So trans lives definitely do matter, and awareness of our lives and importance of our lives just like your life is important is very important. I work in the community as well, trying to help get that out there, whether it's at the Garden, it's at the Blazing Saddle, doing various benefits that they have for the community, helping even with getting awareness, events, or even mentoring youth, helping them get out there or finding ways to cope with wanting to tell their family that this is how they prefer to live their life to be happier. So that is why I decided to join the Trans USA family. Again, my name is Trigga Infiniti Sanchez. I'm your Mr. Trans Nevada, USA. Thank you.
Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.